Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sports Beat. I'm Carl Bauer, and with me tonight is Seth Martin, the head coach of wrestling, Selinsgrove High School. Seth, thanks for joining us here tonight.
Yep, thanks for having me again.
All right, I have a few questions for you. You've been coaching now at Selinsgrove for how long?
This is my 15th year overall and my 12th year as the head coach, so I've been around for a little bit.
And you are a Selinsgrove wrestler yourself?
Yes, I graduated in 02, then went to Lock Haven, wrestled there for 5 years, graduated in 07, and got a job teaching and coaching like 3 months after I graduated at Selinsgrove.
So how long has it been since you had the kind of response that you have now? We understand that you have a number of girls who want to wrestle.
I do. It's been it's been quite the process. Really, up until last year, I didn't have a girl on my team. And then I had, my first one was Anna Kalsick. She had wrestled through the junior high. And I thought maybe I should try to find a partner for her because she's going to be the only girl in there. And, it's new to me. So I talked to a few girls at school. It's definitely different going up to a girl and how much do you weigh? You seem like a pretty well-built girl. I think you could handle this. Like, it's a little different. So there's a learning curve to say things in the right way, Sure. But I got 2 girls to come out, and the one was a junior, the one was a senior, but the one she's not wrestling this year because she's big into bodybuilding, which is what drew me to her because I saw her in the weight room, and she was strapped. And I'm like, you ever think about wrestling? Like, I don't think you play any sports, but she's focusing on bodybuilding. But I had 3 girls, and I'm like, well, if I want to have these girls, it'd be nice if I had a female coach, which we are lucky enough to have one. Chantel Snyder wrestled for Selinsgrove many years ago. She wrestled at the college level for a few years, and she actually speaks to my health classes for a number of different things. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to reach out to her, and she jumped on the opportunity. So bam, I got partners for the one girl that I had. We went to 3. And I got a female coach because I want them, just like the boys, to feel comfortable in my room. So I figured that certainly won't hurt.
It's nothing new at Selinsgrove. I remember a number of years ago, you might not be familiar with this, but you had a girl named Jen Pastor wrestled in junior high.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I don't know if I remember. I know that name, but I don't remember that. Girls that stand out back when I was wrestling. I know Holly Langle wrestled on our team when I was wrestling. And then after that, when I was the assistant to Todd Myers, we had Kim Spiegel in there. And I know Chantel and her sister wrestled for Selinsgrove. I think her sister's name's Savannah. But I don't have a lot of experience with it in terms of coaching and things like that. This is my first full-blown year where I have a pretty decent group of girls along with the boys on my team.
Well, a couple of years ago, there was a girl from Benton who went as far as districts. She finally lost out of districts. But what an accomplishment for her to break those kinds of trails.
Yeah. And that's not an easy thing. For so long, wrestling is considered like a boys' sport. Girls don't do that.
Sure. It's
not something a girl does. So for a girl to, come out for a team that is so physical. This is not like playing a sport that, there's not too many sports that are perceived as gender specific, like a lot of girls lacrosse, boys lacrosse, basketball,
sure.
Soccer, field hockey is one of those things where it's like, well, that's a girls' sport. Now boys have played it, but that's the idea that people have. Like, boys don't play that. Girls don't play football. Girls don't wrestle. And wrestling is one of the most physical sports that you can choose in high school. So for a girl to come out knowing that she's probably going to be in a room full of boys, that takes guts because it's not going to be fun every day. That's for sure.
Certainly, you can see where the confidence lies. Now, are you coaching both boys and girls together?
Yeah, so we have an interesting dynamic the way we're working it. I am coaching both the girls and the boys because they are on the same team. The problem is I have too many people. I have 29 kids, and we have a pretty small mat room. We have a really nice mat room, but it's really small. So there was a lot of thinking that was involved with how I was going to work this out. So I know that girls wrestling is on the rise, and I'm not somebody that wants to wait around for other teams to have like a group of girls, not necessarily a team or a club or anything like that, but just a group of girls that are ready to transition to something more girl specific. Because right now at Seal Grove, we don't have a girls team. We don't have a girls club. We just have 6 girls on a team of 29 wrestlers. Okay, 23 boys, 6 girls. And I'm like, the other thing that I have to think about is that the boys in my room, 21 of the 23 have been wrestling for 4 or more years. Most of them have been wrestling since elementary. So we go through the techniques in the first 2 weeks. It's like bing, bang, boom. So if you're a new wrestler in general, male or female, doesn't matter. You're going to come in there and we're going to move pretty quick because I have a room like that. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years I won't, but I don't think that's going to happen. Just FYI. Okay, I got a lot of good wrestlers coming up through, so it's nice to have wrestlers at a higher level so we can get to more technical things. But then it's like, okay, so I'm going to talk to girls about coming out for a wrestling team that never wrestled before a day in their life, and then I'm going to ask them to come into a room full of mainly boys, and then I'm going to buzzsaw through the technique so quick that they're like, I don't think I belong here. So what I did, and I took some talking to my wife to get the okay on this, because it is a lot. I mean, coaching any sport's a lot, but we have 2 practice sessions. We have a varsity, we have a JV. Right? So right after school from 3:30 to 5:30, I'm there with the varsity, and they're all on the same team. It's important to understand this. They're all on the same team. But I split it up into 2 because my wife allowed me to have 2 separate practice times because I want to focus more with the beginners. And now I will be honest, the second practice starts at 5:45. It goes till 7. It's only the girls that show up to that. I don't say to the boys, no, you can't come. This is only a girls thing. I don't do that. But it is like the varsity practice. It's intense. We focus a lot on early on in the season, a lot of conditioning, a lot of live wrestling so that we get in good shape, because until you're in good shape, wrestling doesn't look good. Okay, you got to get in shape. So our first 2 weeks, we focus on that. And like I said, we bust all through a lot of techniques. And when I go to the practice at 5:45 to 7, it is focused more on the new wrestler. So like I just came from that practice. I got out of the shower like 6 minutes before we got on here. Okay. So I get home a little later. Normally I get home at 6. Now I get home at like 7:20.
Yeah.
And that's a lot. That's a lot. But I feel like if we want to grow the sport for both boys and girls, you have to cater a little bit to the levels that you have to work with. And that's what I'm trying to do. So like I imagine that as we get closer to competition, the boys will utilize the JV practice, but maybe in a different way. Like, hey, I'd like to get a little extra weight off. We've got a tournament tomorrow. They come in and they have like a drill session with one of their partners while I work on technique with mainly the girls. Because right now I don't have a lot of new male wrestlers. I have a lot of new female wrestlers. Mm-hmm. So it works out. When we go to a dual meet, everybody's going. Everybody gets on the bus. They all go. We're all part of the same team. But I just decided to split them up a little bit. And I said to the girls, you can come to the varsity practice, but no, this is how it's going to go. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can go to the JV practice. We'll focus on this. And they all decide. I have 3 girls going to the varsity and the JV practice, which is a lot for them too. I have 3 junior high girls going to both practices. And then I think I have an overall of 6 that are just going to go to the JV practices. And that's perfectly fine. Because like I said, it's whatever they're comfortable with. Some of them wrestle only girls. Some of them only wrestle both, or some of them wrestle both, and some of them only wrestle girls. And because we have a large amount of girls, they have that option. Unfortunately, if you're the only girl on your team and you say, well, I'm not wrestling girls, well, good luck.
Right.
You're not going to wrestle.
Yeah.
You know?
Let me ask you another question. When you have that kind of dynamic, do you put your boys wrestling against your girls, for instance, and doing takedowns?
That will depend on the girl. Now, if a boy doesn't want to wrestle the girl, then it's the same thing. Okay, they both get treated the same way. If a boy comes to me and says, I don't want to wrestle a girl, you got to respect that, just like you respect it with the girls. Okay, so it depends on the kids. Right now, I have the one girl wrestles with the boys quite often. She doesn't mind that. She's been wrestling with the boys ever since 7th grade when she started. And then the other two that are in there, you know, they're a little hesitant to go with the boys yet. Maybe they'll get there at some point, but we're not there yet. So that's up to the kids, whether or not they want to wrestle with the opposite gender. If there's a problem there where they say, no, I don't want to do that, I'm not comfortable with it, then fine. We have enough boys for the boys to wrestle the boys. We have enough girls for the girls to wrestle the girls. So there's no need to cause an issue there where there isn't.
Right. Certainly understandable. Certainly understandable. Do you think that some of this interest on the part of your girls has anything to do with what happened in last Olympics, where we actually had our first gold medal winner in women's wrestling?
I certainly don't think that hurts. It can't hurt. Okay. When you have a figure like that, do something, you know, spectacular, people are going to notice, even if you're not a wrestling fan, you know. For me at Selinsgrove, if I'm being honest personally, the Olympics, I watch the Olympics. I love it. I love it when, I don't care who it is, male, female, does something spectacular like that. But for me, I'm doing it for more, I don't know if selfish is the right word, but the way I am, whether or not you agree with it or not, girls wrestling is going to be a thing at some point. And I'm not going to just be a thing with like a few schools. It's going to be its own separate entity down the road. I don't know if it's going to be a year or 3 years, 5 years. And for me to sit back and watch other teams recruit girls and have a group, this cluster of girls that are ready for that transition whenever it happens. Right now, we have a varsity wrestling team. We have a junior high wrestling team. Male, female, doesn't matter. You're all on the same team. Okay. Eventually, that probably won't be the case. And I'm not somebody to sit back and be like, oh, there's a girls wrestling team now. Well, I guess I'll jump on board. I don't like to follow others. I like to kind of do my own thing, and I want to get out in front of this. Now, I know there's a lot of schools that are way out in front of me. That's fine. But I want to be ready for when this happens. Now, if it does end up becoming its own separate entity, I'm probably not going to be the head coach of both, because then you're talking, I don't even know how you work that. I mean, you ever hear of a coach coaching both boys and girls basketball? I mean, I don't even know how you pull that off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But until then, I'm going to stay involved. And the reason I'm going to stay involved is because I'm the head coach of the wrestling team, of the varsity wrestling team. But in my eyes, the way I see it, I am the head coach of every single wrestler, male, female, kindergarten to 12th grade. I don't really care what grade you're in. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what gender you are. When people say, when they talk about Selinsgrove and wrestling in the same sentence, it needs to be a positive thing. That's been my goal since day one. So if we wait and wait and wait to recruit girls and get them ready technically, and then all of a sudden, boom, you know, in a few years, girls wrestling is its own separate entity, we're playing catch up.
Yeah.
So you're going to be wrestling. Okay, maybe you have 8 girls and there's 8 weights or something like that. You fill a lineup, and then I'm trying to scramble to fill a lineup, and we start all over again where we're trying to play catch up to all these other teams. No, I want to be the team out in front. Well, we've been ready for this, you know.
You don't want to put your kids at a disadvantage by not having the experience they need.
No way. I want to be out in front of that. Make sure that they're ready for it. If it happens, and I think it's gonna at some point, you know, as a state, I think it's going to. I'm not talking about Selinsgrove specifically. When it happens, I want our group to be ready. You know, just like I want the boys to be ready to go. If I'm not the head coach of the girls, I don't really care. I want whoever is the head coach to be, you know, here's this group of girls that have been working, and maybe it ends up being Chantel. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to be like, here we go. We're ready to rock and roll. Here's a group of girls that have been working all this time. And maybe that head coach is somebody that's involved now. Maybe it's somebody that becomes involved in the next few years. I don't know. But either way, the boys and girls wrestling team are going to work together. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a wrestler, you're on the same team. Whether they're together like they are now or possibly separate down the road.
Well, you've been around it more personally than I have for a long time. And I know that there are those phenomenal wrestlers that come out of nowhere who know what they're doing, just they have the natural feel for it. There are others that just need that experience that you've been talking about. If you don't give that experience, you're putting your kids at a real disadvantage. I can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. And then what happens? And they don't have fun. And then you're trying to start something, and it's like you recruit 8 kids and 4 of them quit. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like it takes forever. So why not get out in front of it and do something about it now?
All right, let me ask you about one of your former wrestlers. How's Nate Schoen doing?
Nate is at Iowa State. He's rooming with Panero Johnson. He's recovering from his knee injury. I don't think hardly anybody knew about it. Nobody talked about it. We didn't talk about it, but he had a torn ACL the entire season last year.
Yeah.
He tore it during football, which a lot of my guys are on the football team, and I go to every game, and I'm just like, oh, don't go down. I'm like, please don't go down. And of course, Nate blows his knee up, and he tore his ACL, and he's like, well, I'm not getting it fixed until after baseball. I want to enjoy high school. So he went through the rest of football, the whole wrestling season, wins a state title, plays baseball, then he gets it fixed. And Iowa State, they're invested in him, so they're not going to rush him back before he's ready. So he's taking the year to rebuild himself.
Oh, good.
And focus on himself so that next year he's ready to rock and roll.
I'm going to see Coy Bastion on Friday night. Bucknell has their first home meet. They're wrestling Michigan State on Friday night.
As well.
And, right after this show.
I will see you there because I'm going with possibly my dad and my junior high head coach. And I don't know if somebody else texts me, we'll go with them too.
It should be very exciting there. Having a Big Ten team in Davis Gym is going to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you very much for being with us here on the Sports Beat. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I wish you the best of luck for your season.
All right. Thanks, Carl. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with the Sports Beat right after this.